Are you thirsty for some juice, fresh juice? Let's go make some. Welcome to Tasty Tales. Today we are making carrots and orange juice. My carrots have been washed and cleaned. My apples and oranges washed and peeled. And so I am just going to cut my fruits and vegetables and put in my blender. And mind you, this blender is so good that you can put in whole fruits. So growing up, my mother used to tell me the story of a woman named Nana who was a big lawyer that I so admired. But you will not believe the story behind this lady's success. She used to, when she was 9 years old, she lived in a town called Bamenda with her parents. Her father was super rich that Nana never ever dreamt of poverty in her life. One evening, Nana and her family were having dinner. They were eating eru and fufu. This so well. The family was all having a good time because the father had just returned from a trip abroad, shared them gifts, and now they were celebrating on a meal that her mother, who was a warm hug in human form, had just prepared. And something bad happened. There was a heavy knock on the door. When the father went to the door to find out what was at the door, thieves just bashed in, pushed him down, and began to punch him in the face and ask him, demanding for money. But because he never kept money at home, he was killed. Nana's mother, on the other hand, was also raped and killed, and Nana was raped, leaving her in her own pool of blood. Having no one to turn to in the city, Nana had to return to the village, this old village, with her grandmother. She was just 9 years old. At the age of 10, one evening, Nana was sitting with her grandmother over a fireside, and her grandmother was just telling her stories, and they were roasting corn and plum that they had harvested from the farm when the elders of the village walked into the house. They said, "The king has commanded us to come and bring Nana to the palace as his seventh wife." Nana cried. The grandmother cried, but there was nothing they could do. They had nobody to speak for them, and it was the law of the land that whoever the king chooses to be his wife has to be his wife. You don't have to say no, you don't have to say anything, you just had to obey. Nana followed them. They took her to the palace, and the king said he had seen her fetching water at the village stream, and she looked like a goddess and walked like a queen. That's why he wants to make her his seventh wife. 2 years after their marriage, Nana bore him a son who was her light in her darkest days. And shortly after, the king died. Nana thought her freedom has come, but little did she know that she was just about to enter another prison. She was passed down to the king's next of kin as a wife. That night of coronation, Nana whispered to her son, when everybody thought she was getting ready, she whispered to her son and tied her son to her back, ran like never before, fearlessly into the forest, into the bushes, and found herself in the city, where she worked as a cleaner by day, and at night she studied law. 7 years later, she was sworn in as a lawyer who was the voice of the voiceless. She returned to the village not as that teenage girl who was given up to who was forcefully given to the king as a wife, but as the lawyer who was there to speak for other girls who were used. So Nana returned to the village not as a village girl or a wife or a widow, but she returned as a warrior, a lawyer, a mother, a lioness. She stands for every little girl forced to marry her future away. She fights for those who were sold to repay debt or gifted like cattle to settle scores. She fights not with swords, but with truth, because she knows if she stays silent, the next Nana might not be able to survive it. And now when she walks into those same villages, the men lower their eyes while the little girls raise their head, and someone always whispers, "That's the one who came back for us." Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and click on the notification bell so you get notified when we upload. Bye.